lights over here on the Still Loading podcast are kept on by the wonderful patrons on Patreon. Amazing people such as Charles M., Gilmer, Kevin from the Bit by Bit Foundation, Eric H., Mr. Biscuits, and Stephen P. have been wonderful enough to support the show over there. So if you would also like to get your name read at the beginning of an episode, along with a bunch of other goodies, go over to patreon.com/stillloadingpod and see everything it has to offer. On this episode of Still Loading,
you'll have to swim across the moat and let down the drawbridge.
Me? But I can't. I'm gonna have a baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the Still Loading podcast. I'm your host, Josh Koval, and today's episode is our return to the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. We are discussing Episode 2, King Mario of Cramalot. And, of course, my co-host with the mo-host, Dexter Morrill, is joining me. Dexter, how are you doing today?
Hey, paisanos. I'm doing all
paisanos.
right. It's a Mario Day.
It is Mario Day. This is rapidly turning into what Captain N Day was for us, and I'm very happy about that.
Yes, I welcome it.
As do I. But yeah, so this is the second episode of the Mario Show. This was the live action segment was called Day of the Orphan.
It's such a grandiose name for what actually happens in the episode.
For the what is it so grandiose too? Just out of context, that's just it sounds awful.
Day of the Orphan.
Day of the Orphan.
Are we celebrating it?
This sounds like a weird, outdated holiday tradition in like some Eastern European country.
It also kind of sounds like a subtitle to like a AAA video game.
Yes. Oh God. Call of Duty, Day of the Orphan.
Yeah, Bloodborne, Day of the Orphan.
Day of the Orphan. And I apologize to any Eastern European listeners. I don't mean to actually insult anyone's culture. The cartoon segment of this episode though is called King Mario of Cramalot. And I'll be honest, I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Not necessarily because of the story, but because of Mervin. Mervin was my hero.
Yeah.
I wrote down so many there were so many different lines in this. Now, before we kick this off, Dexter, I got a surprise for you.
Ooh, all right.
I got a surprise. So I'm going to start keeping track of this as the series goes on. I have a little notepad doc on my computer. And actually, real quick, listeners, if you hear any sounds in the background, there is like literally a family of birds right outside my window and I can hear them. I don't know if the mic is going to pick it up, but I wanted to shout it out just in case because it's getting really obnoxious right now. Anyway,
I haven't heard it yet.
Sorry, here's the surprise though. So have you noticed over the course of the show here that obviously King Koopa insults Mario a lot? Tons of. I'm going to start keeping track of all the different insults that he has. And I'm also going to keep track of Mario's random food cravings because there's always weird things that he wants. So since we didn't do one for episode 1, I'm going to shout those out. The one of them is just a normal thing. He just says spaghetti. He just likes spaghetti. And it's at the end of the episode where he thinks he's having spaghetti and it's the worm. But prior to that, when they have the cheap joke, where he's like, hey, who's calling me cheap? He asks for a pepperoni cheesecake.
Yeah.
Now, in this episode, just because I'm not going to exactly remember when everything is said for some of these, like the pepperoni cheesesteak was tied with a joke. The rest are like in episode 2 here, they're just kind of tied to random bits of dialogue. He is craving raviolis smothered in honey and a mozzarella milkshake.
Mozzarella milkshake.
I spelled it that way too. I know it's mozzarella, but mozzarella milkshake.
Yeah, the Italian pronunciation.
There we go. And so that's his food cravings in the first 2 episodes. If I have missed any, listeners, feel free to write into the show at stillloadingcontact@gmail.com or tweet me at social media or whatever. Message me on social media. I can add it and make a correction in the next episode. For Bowser's insults, though, episode 1, he calls them pinhead plumbers. He calls Mario a super plumber, which it was meant to.
That seems like a compliment.
Yeah, but he was saying it in many ways, like that super plumber, because Mario has the Super Mario powers at the moment type of thing.
Right.
And then scum scrubbers.
Ooh, good one. I like
that. Now for episode 2. There's only 3 I found in the first one. Episode 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 insults, and I'm only doing this for when
I wrote down a couple that stuck out to me.
I'm only doing this for when he directs them at Mario, not necessarily Mario and Luigi, not at his own minions. Just to be clear, he has more insults than just what I'm listing here. These are only directed towards Mario and his pals.
Can I make a
little
preemptive
faucet
request?
fixer? Sorry, what?
I was going to say, can I make a preemptive request for another thing we keep track of?
Sure.
As if we don't have enough work on our plates. But so if this becomes a running thing, I don't know if the one from this episode will be topped, but Luigi's excuses for not helping. Because I don't want to give away the joke, but this might be the best one this episode.
This was a good one.
Yeah, because last episode he was allergic to mountains, which is funny.
I'm allergic to mountains.
We'll get to it. I don't want to give it away, but if this is going to be a running thing, I might need to keep track of them.
All right, well, I think that's worthwhile because he has at least one so far every episode, and we can bring it up in line with the story. So yeah. From this episode, Bowser's insults to Mario: impudent little faucet fixer, pasta eating plumber, sewer scrubbing flubbing losers,
nice,
lasagna loving losers, a pepperoni plumber. Macaroni mouth.
Yes, I wrote that one down.
Faucet face.
I got that one too.
And pasta brained plumbers.
I love it.
It's so good, man. It's so good. I was like listening when I was rewatching the episode. I'm like, oh, this would be really amusing to keep track of. And I'll create a master spreadsheet that I can share once the series is over.
Yes, and then because that would be, I was just going to say the flubbin dubbin. What was that one?
Scrubbin flubbin losers.
The scrubbin flubbin losers. Like, how hilarious would that be to have like a T-shirt or a mug with Mario and Luigi on it? And it says scrubbin flubbin losers.
We should do it, Dexter. That's our next shirt for I don't know, maybe midway through the Mario series.
Yes, I would also accept pictures of you and I with that on there for
sewer scrubbing flubbing losers.
Yeah, love it.
No, it's amusing. But all right, let's dive into the episode, Dex. Let's we've dilly dallied long enough. Let's dive right into the episode. The episode begins. Its live action segment is called "The Day of the Orphan," and the guest star for "The Day of the Orphan" is Wonder Years fame, Danica McKellar.
That's right. And for animation nerds out there, she's also been the voice of Miss Martian from Young Justice, which was the Justice League cartoon, but for all the young sidekicks. Yeah, she was the Miss Martian, so the female Martian Manhunter kind of surrogate there for that team. But yeah, I saw that too.
I had no idea.
Yeah, apparently she's done like video game voices and stuff too. So,
has she? Let me see if I can find. Okay, so in video games, she did. It's all Marvel stuff, though she did do EverQuest 2. At least according to Wikipedia, mind you. I have to check her IMDb for a full list, but she is the voice of Jubilee in X-Men Legends. Lala Cotgrove / Pona in EverQuest 2. She's the Invisible Woman in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2. And then Miss Martian in Young Justice Legacy and Batgirl in Young Justice Legacy. So there we go.
Not bad.
Yeah, so the episode opens with Luigi playing with a spaghetti. It's not actual spaghetti here. It's almost like a mop head, but this like electrician coming out of a sewer grate inside of Mario and Luigi's house, and they're playing chess.
Yeah. The first note I put, I was like, we're already starting with absurdity.
And Luigi loses. He loses to this dude. While
Yes.
now, have you noticed like what Mario's eating? So while this is all happening, the doorbell is ringing, and Mario's not getting up to go answer it. Luigi kind of razzes him a little bit. It's like, "Oh, I wouldn't want you to get up and work on your." What did he say? He called
Girlish figure.
his what figure?
I know you're working on your girlish figure.
Girlish figure. What a meh joke, but I did find it at least a little amusing. But if you notice what what Mario's eating, it's just a baguette. It's just like a sub. There's nothing in it. It's just straight bread.
Oh yeah. Looks like
Which,
he's got a platter of pizza slices in front of him too. Like,
well, the
not
phone is constantly in the middle of pizza slices,
yeah. I love
and
it.
then just a bottle of mustard on their table too. We should dissect what's on that table. You know,
Yeah.
there's
Did you
got to
notice
be.
the little electrician's name was Edison? He called him Edison, which I thought was a nice little Thomas Edison joke there.
I like it. I like it too. And I'm looking at it once on his table. I can't really. It's hard to see. It's like because it's so blurry with the video quality, so it's really hard to make out. Other than the mustard bottle, and then maybe like a napkin holder thing. I don't know. But when Luigi goes to answer the door, Danica McKellar is there, and she comes in and she calls. What does she call herself? She calls herself the sad-eyed orphan.
Yeah, I swore she said Hattie, the sad-eyed orphan, but then everyone else calls her Patty the rest of the episode. So I was like, okay, I guess I just misheard her. So she's Patty, the sad-eyed orphan.
Patty, the sad-eyed orphan, and she comes in saying, it's pretty hard living out on the streets, having to fend for yourself, and especially hard because no one's there to celebrate my birthday. And she guilt trips Mario and Luigi into throwing her a birthday party. And the moment, I mean, it's very weird. I remember seeing this when I watched through the show for the first time, like before we even decided to do this. After my daughter was born, we actually watched every episode, not like marathoned it, but just kind of piecemeal. And for some reason, this one kept coming back on. Like, could we, like, if it would automatically play type of thing, it
Yeah.
was always back to this one. And I got so tired of seeing Danica McKellar because her character's so obnoxious in this episode.
Yeah, and she immediately reveals that, she's, probably not who she says she is. But the thing that I found funny, I was like, another female guest star who is wanting to party. Because the
Oh, you're
previous
right.
episode she was
'Cause
going to the dirty
yeah.
party or whatever, but
Yeah, Nicole Eggert was going to
which is
a dirty
not what
party.
it sounds like.
No, it's not. It's literally like you're
Yeah.
supposed to be covered in dirt. It's not like anything sexual or anything like that. But it was weird when Mario and Luigi had to like cover her in dirt like with their hands. That felt
Yeah.
like uncomfortable to watch. Um
Right.
so the audience it's obvious to the audience, but Mario and Luigi are pretty dense. And she reveals, like, when he says, "Oh, we'll throw you a party," and they suggest balloons, and she goes, "Oh, with balloons and cake and a a VHS player and a high definition color TV."
Yeah, she says she perfectly describes all these detailed things that an orphan would not have access to.
Yeah, but wouldn't that make the orphan want it more?
Touche.
But it is still very Very odd. Another thing, not that we have too much to keep track of, but the cartoon segment begins right after this, and I want to keep track of what numbers the plumber's log are.
Yeah, I was wondering if it, but it wasn't when I listened to it this time. If it was like a clever way to keep track of like which production episode it was and stuff.
This one was 2237.
Yeah.
Plumber's log 2237. That was not a good Mario voice.
I got you though. I understood.
But Mario, Luigi, and Princess Toadstool and Toad are in Cramalot to find the great wizard Mervin, not Merlin, Mervin, to help save her and her people. And
Yes.
before they can do anything, they are attacked by Bezo bandits.
Yeah.
Is this from a game, Dex?
I don't know if it was Bezo or Bezol bandits.
I mean, I listened to it as Bezo bandits.
Might be right. I'm not getting anything when I'm searching, but yeah, they are villains from Mario 2. They essentially look like Shy Guys, and they've got like bug wings, and they've got like little pitchforks that they fly with. Bezo, you're right. They are Bezo. Beezo.
Okay. So, and this actually is the scene where Mario asks for the honey ravioli smothered in honey.
Because where there's bees, there's ravioli smothered with honey.
And while they're getting attacked, Mario throws a tomato at one and knocks out, and then the Bezos come back around for another pass, and that's when Mervin shows up and zaps them. And Mervin he's just amusing to me, man. I liked Mervin.
Yes. He's using the I don't I don't think we really hear these kind of over the top characterizations in cartoons anymore, but he's the over the top like Jewish stereotype
Yep.
affectation to his voice.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of like what's the name of the character from Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Oh yeah,
remember.
it's Mel Blanc's character, not Mel Blanc's. I'm sorry, Mel Brooks's character.
Mel Brooks's character, yeah. It's that affectation.
He does circumcisions.
The thing that I noticed right away was when Mervin does show up, there's the big purple cloud when he appears,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like a good solid second and a half before the word poof shows up in the cloud.
Oh, is it?
And then it just like disappears again. It was really awkward. Like the cloud has been there for a while, and then it like split second shows poof, and then it goes away again. It's just like really delayed poof. So that's what I have in my notes. Delayed poof.
That's really funny. I didn't even notice that. You're right. That's really amusing. So they go back to Mervin's. I keep going to say Merlin. Mervin's like cave, and he reads to them this this like prophecy kind of where basically the person who's able to defeat King Koopa, you have to pull the golden plunger out of the sacred sink of Camelot. And
yeah, I have a few discrepancies with this book, by the way.
With the book that he's choosing?
Yes. Well, first of all, he's like, I know the solution to this problem because Koopa took over the castle because there was no king. So he's like, all right, I'm the king of Cramalot now. And so Mervin said he looks up the solution to how to get rid of Koopa, pulls out the book that has the solution and blows a bunch of dust off of it. And I was like, if you just looked it up last week, why is there a bunch of dust on it?
So, first of
all,
you're too
second of
smart
all,
for me.
How is it referencing Koopa if Koopa just took over? Like, why is there this
yes
prophecy about getting rid of Koopa?
Unless the prophecy included Koopa coming to town.
Yeah, that's true.
There would be an evil Koopa that came to Cramalot. And Koopa moved into the old castle, which when the former king, I guess, died or whatever. Yeah, when the old king died, Koopa moved into the castle. And I love Koopa's quote where he's like, "I'm here to spread my evil meanness all over Cramalot." His evil meanness. And then Mario, when he is listening to Mervin talk about this whole thing, goes, "That Koopa's a clog in the drain pipe of happiness."
Yeah, I liked that quote too. Yeah,
That and they do go to that golden plunger, which, and a quote from Mervin, Cramalot ain't chintzy. Uh,
yeah,
and when Mario pulls it out, he goes, "Nice plumbing, hero guy."
yeah. And
Just call,
it's in a statue of a bathtub too, like
yes, a
the
golden
golden
bathtub.
bathtub. And
The
I thought this was Excalibur essentially, but then I've never read the Once and Future King, so I don't know the difference between the sword that's in the stone and the sword that's introduced by the lady in the water.
Yeah, the Lady of the Lake.
Yeah, that's it. Not the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
I was gonna
My
say, I'm like,
apologies.
I know a decent amount about it, but I don't know. But I mean, I shouldn't say I don't know much about Arthurian legend. I guess that's what it would be, right? Excalibur is Arthurian legend.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what
exactly.
I thought. Uh, yeah. So Mario, Koopa. Well, after he gets a plunger, Koopa. That's when Koopa attacks and puts a net over everybody. But Mario uses the plunger. Somehow it can literally just like burn through a hole in the net.
It erases like a pencil eraser.
Yeah. And then Mario's like, "I'm going to get you. Stop you, Koopa." He's like, "Well, you better not unless you want the princess to get it." And I'm like, "Mario, you have the fucking golden plunger. Just like, why is everyone helpless right now? There's 2 soldiers on them. 2. Princess Toadstool literally takes out like 5 later on in the episode, like single-handedly.
Yeah, right.
No
Yeah, we'll get to
consistency.
that because the animation of that scene is pretty ridiculous too.
Oh, the whole episode is just ridiculous. I enjoyed this a lot though, quite a
Yeah,
bit. Like there's just so many fun characters, and with Mervin, and I don't know. I enjoyed it quite a bit. When the moment though, I there was a little bit of Looney Tunes esque humor right before Koopa showed up to like stop Mario from getting the golden plunger, where he has like a soldier, and where he's, what is it? Who's on the crown, and or who's the king of Camelot, or who sits on the throne of Camelot or Cramalot, and his subordinate's like, "I don't know. You're sitting on the throne. I can't tell."
yeah. That whole conversation.
Very kind of Beaky Buzzard esque.
Yeah, right.
No, 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 no.
No, ma, no, no.
Oh, nope, I'm not gonna do it. Nope. I love Beaky Buzzard.
Yeah, those are good
Really
ones.
amusing. So the episode continues where, yeah, Mario does escape, and well, they escape from the net only to then essentially be like, "Well, I've captured everyone now, so you give me that golden plunger. I'm gonna throw you in the dungeon." And they're inside this, like, it looks like a well. Like, I don't even know how they got them in there in the first place, considering there's not really an entrance to the in the ceiling at all, because it's just like this perfectly round, well, not perfectly round, this round like top with spikes on the bottom of it, like that will allow them to crush anyone in there. And they do a little bit of a joke where, like, anytime Mario suggests how it could get worse, whatever he suggests, it shows up. Like, well, the ceiling could try to crush us, and then the ceiling starts moving down. Well, it could get worse if this was flooding too, and then everything starts flooding too.
And he's like, "Hold on, let me think of something else." And Luigi's like, "No, stop it." Yeah, I wrote down classic. It could be worse scene.
Mm-hmm.
I also made note of the boss music was really epic in that scene too. Like the classic Mario 2 boss music is playing during that scene.
Oh, while they're in the dungeon.
Yeah, while they're in that little dungeon pit with the ceiling closing in on them.
It's good music. It's good for tension and everything, and it doesn't
Yeah,
have to necessarily just be for bosses. It works really well.
yeah. It shows how versatile the whole soundtrack has been for Mario.
Mm-hmm. And the way they escape is that Mervin shows up, and he's like, What took you so long?" He's like, "I had to replace the batteries in my wand."
Yeah, that's a cheeky little gag. I
And
respect that.
they escape to, I love this, the forest of perpetual night and terrible dangers.
I wonder why they call it that.
It's not they're not there that long, and it's really, other than a bunch of creepy eyes staring at Mario and Luigi, it's really not that there's it's pretty well lit for a place of perpetual night, and there's not that many terrible dangers.
No, no. In fact, everything gets better when they go there because
That
they have like the Lady of the Lake reference with her hand sticking out of the lake and showing him the Excalibur, which I thought was the golden plunger, but is actually the plumber snake.
it's a plumber snake, which, what a ridiculous, like, what a wild idea for that to be. Like, a plunger would make more sense if you're going with the whole plumbing thing. Like, a plunger snake is more like a whip.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I was like, this is ridiculous, but then the more I watched, I was like, now I kind of want a Mario game where he gets a plumber snake and uses
Right?
it like he does in this episode.
And he turns into Super Mario once he gets Excalibur, which is nice.
Yeah. Plays a
That's
great
nice.
rendition of the Power Star theme too.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I hear it now. I because I have the episode on in the background, but the sound's muted because I want to be able to listen to your lovely voice.
Oh.
But so I couldn't hear it. Yeah. So then they march back to Bowser's castle, and Mario sends Luigi in to cross. There's like there's a moat in front of the castle. The drawbridge is up, so no one can cross it. So Mario wants Luigi to go over there to lower the drawbridge. Now, Dex, I believe this is the part you were referencing beforehand. So I want you to take it away. Talk about why Luigi can't go and what he ends up doing.
Yes, I'm very glad I wasn't having a beverage when I saw this scene because I would have sprayed the entire room I was in. But so they volunteer Luigi to cross the moat. You're gonna cross the moat to get so you can open the drawbridge for us. And Luigi's like, and there's like this long pause. I can't. I'm gonna have a baby.
I'm gonna have a baby.
And he starts holding his stomach like he's pregnant.
He goes,
And
ooh.
yeah, I
That sound
lost it.
effect, that
Yeah.
sound effect comes into the episode a decent amount too, because when Mario fights Bowser later on, you just hear him going,
Yeah.
he's like straining to poo or something.
Yeah, it keeps recycling that for some reason.
But yeah, sorry, I cut you off. So what does Luigi do after trying to get out of it by saying he's having a baby?
Well, then he's like, well, it was worth a try, and he goes to swan dive into the water. And then for some reason, that's when Mario tells him like, look out for the piranha fish, or like I think they're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be like cheaps, but before he can hit the water, he does his whole very Looney Tune like air kicking running and is able to make it all the way across, doing that kind of floating run above the fish until he splats into the drawbridge.
I think that's why I've enjoyed this episode. There's lots of like little Looney Tune influences, like with the running across the water, with the just like Mervin is a very Looney Tunes-esque character with kind of his like little wisecracks under his breath. And just like all that type of stuff in general. Like I really enjoy that little bits of humor and everything. And also, like I said, with one of Bowser's or Koopa's minions that sounded like Beaky Buzzard. Like just
Yeah,
lots of little things that don't really. It doesn't take away. It's not like it's a direct nod to Looney Tunes, but it feels very much inspired by it with the humor, you know.
right.
And I think that's why I've liked the episode so much. One thing I want to comment on about Luigi going across the moat there. Mario just became Super Mario. Why the fuck did he not go across the moat?
Especially when he has a weapon that can also double as a whip to like swing across or something.
Exactly.
He's just goofing on his brother.
I mean, I don't know if this thing can be. Actually, he uses it as a whip in the fight against Koopa, but then he also uses it as a sword, where like he can make he can make his plumber steak his he can make his plumber snake stiff if he wants to, or he can let it go flaccid.
Yes, and this is also after he says, "Koopa, I'm gonna clean your pipes."
You know what? Mario and Koopa, maybe it's been under bubbling underneath the surface for years now. We
Seriously,
never
I
knew.
think. Yeah. Come on, guys.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah,
Well,
and I was
they end up
gonna
fighting
ask
Koopa.
you. Oh,
Sorry, what?
yeah, I was gonna ask you because when they get into the castle and they confront Koopa, Mario jumps out with with his plumber snake and shouts what I thought was going to be "en garde," like because he's about to have a sword fight. But he doesn't say "en garde." He says something else, and I listened to it like 3 or 4 times, and I could not figure out what he was actually saying.
Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Oh, I know that he's saying I'm bad, and then he does a little Michael Jackson impression.
Ah, okay.
You can even
So
hear
he,
with the music a little bit. It's like meant to sound a little bit different.
so he was saying "I'm bad." Interesting. Okay.
I think
Yeah, it
I
does sound like "I'm bad."
because it's I'm bad, and then I don't know. Actually, I don't even know how close the music is underneath to the original bad song, but
Interesting.
I don't know if that's what it was. I actually think I wrote that down. I think I wrote it down, and Mario goes to stop him, and I think he does a bad MJ impression, but I don't know if that's what it is.
Interesting. Yeah. Not
Because
really
actually,
sure what they were going
when
for
did
there.
Michael Jackson? I thought Bad came out in like what, late '80s, right?
I think so. Not entirely sure.
Bad album came out in '87. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been referenceable at this point.
Yep. Which, if we know animation takes a little while, this show came out in '89.
Right.
The album came out in '87. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some influence with that.
Huh.
I don't know though. Like I could be way off with that.
I feel like it would have been popular, you know, to an easy, everybody would have caught the reference.
I guess it is still super random and odd, but it's I don't know. I don't know. If it's meant to be that, it's really hard to tell. For some reason, I even noticed it beforehand, and now like rewatching it back, I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is meant to be like the bad music video or something like that. I don't know. It's strange. But
Yeah.
Mario ends up fighting Koopa, and there's at one point in the fight where Koopa is like him and Mario are standing on a bench, and Koopa just out of nowhere brings up a plate of food and chucks it at Mario's face.
Yeah.
Where did he find this?
Yeah, he like reaches off camera. Also a very Looney Tune thing, like to pull from just the void this thing that he needs.
Oh, I
Because
also like. Oh, sorry, I cut you off. Finish what you're saying.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't think they're even on the ground anymore. Like they're on like a balcony. Like where would he have pulled the plate from?
I I think they're standing on a bench, like on because the floor is blue, which makes it seem like it's like water, which is
Yeah.
strange. But before the fight even begins, Toadstool, Toad, and Luigi are fighting the others, like the Koopa Troopas. And I love this. Princess Toadstool goes, "Here come the Koopa Troopas," and Toad goes, "Let's turn them into Koopa Droopas."
Yeah. Come on, Toad. You could have workshopped that a little better.
Koopa Droopas. I didn't hate it. I found it like for what this show is with the puns that are not actually puns. It kind of works for me,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
you know.
But this is where the animation, when they jump on them, rather than like going into their shells, they just freeze, and you could tell that they just like they just take that one drawing and they kind of just manipulate it like boop, and like tip them over in that frozen image, which I thought was humorous. Like every time, whether it was Toad or Peach or Luigi or anyone jumping on them, they just freeze their animation and tip them over.
Hmm.
It's very much Poochie going back to his planet. Like just gonna freeze this animation and slide it across.
It's pretty amusing. I noticed that too. I didn't think too much about it, but that's pretty funny.
Yeah. I
Um,
see what you're talking about now. Yeah, they're on a bench, which you would think is like one of those benches that is with like a table with a feast. So
mhm.
maybe that's where he pulled the plate from, this feast that we're not seeing.
On the bench, I guess, because maybe they're near a table. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
It's the only thing I can think of. But Mario does eventually beat Koopa. Golden Plunger versus Excalibur. What a sentence! Well, when Excalibur is actually a plumber snake, and
Yeah.
there's some decent like fun stuff. You know, like you said, they're on balconies at first, and Mario uses the plumber snake to use it as a whip and like swing him across different gaps, and it's just kind of them just kind of putting their stuff together. it's, it's just I don't know. The fight's all not all that interesting, but the commentary is more interesting than anything else.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh, but he does defeat Koopa. Koopa, of course, escapes, and then Mario is asked to be king of Cramalot, and that's when Mervin's like, "Well, if you got to be king, you can't keep eating pasta. You got to lose some weight." And he puts him on a treadmill, and that's when he decides, just gonna run away.
Yeah.
Fuck that, I'm running away.
The visual of him on it's like one of those old timey treadmill, because it's got like the band that goes around his belly too, because that was an exercise machine like decades ago where they just put the band around your belly and jiggle you like jiggle the fat away. Like he's in one of those as well. And yeah, he just runs away. He's like, I don't want to be king.
It's definitely one of those things where you can tell someone in their 50s wrote this cartoon.
Yes, and I do want to point out for listeners that the way that Koopa escapes is using Super Mario 2 logic, where he has the potion. It's purple for some reason instead of red, like in the game, and he throws it down, and the door appears, and he escapes through the little door warp zone, which I thought was a nice little nod to Super Mario Brothers 2.
I was trying to see what the writer of this show has done, or this episode. The writer of this episode is Perry Martin. I want to make sure that I have the right thing. Yeah, so he wrote segments for the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. He wrote segments for Cops, like the animated show Cops. He also did Captain Planet,
Oh, nice.
Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World. He did the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures cartoon, James Bond Jr. cartoon. I've never heard of this. This came actually, wow. So he didn't have a writing credit in between 1991 until 2003, where he was the writer of a video called Kangaroo Hitchcock, The Making of Road Games. He also
Oh,
directed it. I don't know
wow.
what this is.
That's a lot of words in there.
That's just word soup to me.
They're words, yeah, they're
Is
words that I recognize, but they don't make sense put together that way.
I'm not going to go through everything, but his last writing credit is from 2008, and it's just called 101 Perversions.
Okay. Interesting.
uh, his last credit that I can find, he was a producer for a TV series called Post Mortem with Mick Garris. It looks, actually, that seems interesting. It almost looks like they interviewed different like horror people in the horror movies. Yeah, filmmaker slash author Mick Garris dives deep into the devious minds of the greatest filmmakers and creators of horror cinema,
Hmm.
and so he was a producer on that. I'm trying to see if was there any other credits that he's done since that. That's really funny actually, and nope, that's his latest. That's his last credit.
Wow.
Don't even know how old this dude is, but he that was his last credit, at least on IMDb. So Perry
Interesting.
Martin, shout out to Perry Martin for writing King of Cramalot.
Yes. He also wrote the line, which I was trying to figure, I was going to ask you when we recorded. Um, Koopa says when he gets away, as the saying goes, he who coops and runs away lives to coop another day. And I was
hmm
trying to, did he say that in the previous episode?
I
Like,
don't remember.
is
I
that
can
one of
go
his
back and look.
catchphrases? Because it sounded familiar. The "he who coops and runs away." I was like, did he say that last time? So I'll just have to keep an ear out for
I mean,
future
there's lots of
episodes.
Coop puns in this
Right.
show.
And maybe
I,
that's what
I
it is. Like,
I do like that all of Koopa's insults are either like, let's make fun of Italian food, pasta, lasagna, pepperoni, like anything that's like stereotypical Italian, or it's the plumber angle. It's either the Italian angle or the plumber angle.
right. Yeah,
Faucet
I
face.
love
I can't get over
and the
faucet
pasta with
face.
macaroni mouth.
Macaroni mouth, lasagna loving losers. This show
So
is
good.
ridiculous.
So good.
So it cuts back to the live action segment now. Mario has declined to be king. He's run off. That was the end of the animated segment. And it cuts back to the live action segment where Mario and Luigi are still trying to set up a party for Patty. And she is being I'm just going to say it. She's being a bitch. She is. They're in the middle of making like blowing up balloons for her, and she asked for more popcorn very sweetly. And then Mario goes, sure thing, Patty. Let me just finish blowing up this balloon. And she's like, no, I want it now. And and I understand that's like, that's how they wrote it, blah, blah, blah. But she's just obnoxious. And I know Danica McKellar is a better actress than this.
Yeah.
Like, it's very clear she's just like, where do you need me to go? What, Mario's popular? All right, here I am. I'll do it.
Yeah. I think this is only like her third or fourth credit anyway.
Wait,
Like in her
really? Was this
career.
before the Wonder Years?
No, this
There's
is
no way.
yeah. I think that's why they had her on, was because she was on the Wonder Years, because the only thing she did before the Wonder Years was an episode of Twilight Zone, I think it said.
Oh, really?
Something like that, which would have been a very late Twilight Zone thing, I feel like.
Yeah. Wow, she really has done a lot of voiceover work. That's nuts. Yeah, she did a segment in the Twilight Zones, two different segments in Twilight Zone, the Twilight Zone, excuse me, from 85 to 87. Um, the Wonder Years started the year before in 1988. So yeah, she was known for it, but it's
Yeah.
just wild to me that, like, I don't know, she's not good in this episode. And I don't necessarily blame her. It's just kind of like, it is what it is. Now her parents show up here though. Her parents show up and to take her back home, and they kind of call her on her bluff and make it very apparent that she's not an orphan. She's just a bratty kid, which I feel even less bad about calling her a bitch if she's going to run away from her parents just because, like, I don't know, like, she doesn't seem like she has that bad of a life.
I wonder if her parents are professional detectives, because how the hell did they find her at a random plumber's?
Yes. It's not like she has a phone to track.
Right.
This is 89, man. There's nothing there.
Yeah. I just thought that was funny that they were there and had no, like, we found this, or we asked so and so and they saw you come here. Like, it was just like, honey, what are you doing? Oh, not again. She does this all the time. She pretended we were in space or something. I can't remember what the excuse was. One of them that they said.
The people who portray her parents are Karen Hartman and, let me just make sure. Yeah, Karen Hartman and Jim Ward. Now,
Any
Karen
relation
Hartman,
to
I was
Phil
actually a little
Hartman?
nervous. I'm like, please tell me that's not who is the SNL cast member who was murdered by his wife?
Phil Hartman, yeah.
I
She
was
wouldn't have been married to him at this point, though, I don't think.
I mean, yeah, it was Phil Hartman. I couldn't remember, but I didn't know who his wife was. It was Bryn Hartman. Okay, so no,
Yeah.
not this actress. I just wanted to make sure. And actually, she would have been this. Bryn Hartman married Phil in 1987.
Oh, no kidding. So, ooh, we dodged probably shouldn't say dodged a bullet.
No. Oh wow, yeah, that's I was worried for a second. Now, Jim Ward, however, he is a voice actor. Well, he is now retired. It's actually kind of sad. I believe he's going through Alzheimer's or like dementia right now. He has
That's
early
too bad.
onset Alzheimer's and dementia, and so he has not really been doing performances all that much. He was the original voice of Captain Quark from the Ratchet and Clank games.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. Yeah, he was Captain Quark for almost the entirety of the series until he has since retired due to personal issues. I'm gonna double check on that just to make sure, but like it was like announced later on, like let me double check. It was announced by his family like late at one point in time. Let me double check on Wikipedia. In 2021, it was reported that Ward had developed symptoms of a precocious form of Alzheimer's disease and contracted a severe case of COVID-19, leaving him unable to continue voice acting.
That's too bad.
Yeah, and that's why he was not as Captain Quark in the newer Ratchet and Clank game, the most recent one, A Rift Apart, which is such a bummer, man. I feel so bad because like he clearly like loved what he was doing, and now like I don't know what he's been up to since. I hope he's getting the treatment that he needs, because apparently, at least in the one article I was just like perusing at, he he couldn't really afford it, or it was expensive. And actually, if you go to his website now, it's literally a Chinese company that took it over.
Jeez, wow.
Yeah, so they clearly they haven't been paying his website either. It's just a bummer, man. But yeah. So that Jim Ward is awesome though. I love him as Captain Quark. So when I saw that he was in the credits for this, I went, "What? Excuse me." He also appears later on. He is like the vampire, or he plays the vampire or like Frankenstein in another one of the live action segments of the show.
Huh. Oh, I guess we should have said that the animated Mario segment was, I'm sure the listeners picked up on it, was, we talked about how all of them are going to be pretty much parody, and this one
Mhm.
was King Arthur, of course, but for the
Yes.
animated segment.
And I'm looking forward to the next one too, because well, it'll be 2 months from now because we're covering a Zelda cartoon next month. It's called, the animated segment is Butch Mario and the Luigi Kid. So that's going to be like a play on the westerns and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and everything. And the guest for that episode is Sergeant Slaughter, the wrestler. So
Can't
I'm
wait.
kind of excited for that one. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to add to this one, Dex. This would end up being like we were talking off, Mike, how we do have a time limit today, but I don't even feel like I really rushed through this. Like I thought there's going to be more to talk about with this, but in all honesty, there wasn't a lot to talk about. But it was just an entertaining episode all around.
Yeah, it was entertaining. It was very straightforward. Like, um, we had some tropes, we had some things that, there wasn't anything other than all the things you kind of called out in the beginning, like the clever names that Koopa was calling Mario, and things like that. Like, most of what was notable in this one was like kind of the dialogue, and some of the performances. Um, Otherwise, like, story was pretty straightforward. There was no twists and turns or anything like that. So a pretty straightforward episode.
Yeah, it was enjoyable, but it just straightforward, amusing, but I don't know. Uh, Not much more to really dive into with it, I guess. Um, yeah, that's. I think that'll do it for this one, though, man. I don't really have much else to go on with it. Fi- I don't know. Any final thoughts on it?
No, I think that, the more we talked about it, actually, I felt a little bit better about it. I was I was watching it by myself yesterday, and I was like, I don't know if I've got a lot to say about this one, because there's not there wasn't a whole lot that stuck out. Um, that we had a few innuendos that kind of made me giggle, and the best joke so far, it's gonna be hard to top. I can't. I'm having a baby.
I'm having a baby.
That did all of the heavy lifting for me in this one. So, but,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, same. I just enjoyable episode. This one was fun. I'm looking forward to next month's one, but also looking forward to the next Zelda one. I friend of the show, Jala, commented a lot on that episode on Twitter. Just like, oh, that was amusing to read. Just so that episode, I can't wait to see what else is. I can't wait to see what the next one is. But anyway, that will do it for this episode of Still Loading. Dexter, thank you once again for joining me. As usual, my friend, where can the good people find you online? And is there anything you would like to promote?
Oh, you can find me on all the social media places that exist for the most part, with just my name, Dexter Morrill, DexterMorrill. I'm on there, usually sharing video game related stuff, or game preservation, or even art and design stuff. So you can find me on there sharing that kind of stuff. I'll go ahead and give another plug for the Still Loading Captain N t-shirts that we've got. There's a couple of designs available. And I'm pretty sure you've got the links for those up somewhere, right, Josh?
Yeah, they're usually, there's a show notes. In the show notes, I have a link to the merch store on TeePublic, and also on like Instagram and stuff. I think I still have like a designated link for the Captain N t-shirt.
Yeah, so definitely check those out. I also like to share some of my student stuff because I'm an art teacher and design teacher as well. So you can keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, just hanging out with you, Josh.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure. Yeah. And as for myself, of course, you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Still Loading Pod on all of them. Blue Sky at Still Loading Pod, Threads at Still Loading Pod, Twitch at Still Loading Pod, at Still Loading Podcast on YouTube. Man, I'm telling you, I don't mind doing the whole spiel of like Patreon and whatnot, but I'm not feeling today, so it's going to be a short one, y'all. If you want to support the show, rating a review on whichever podcasting app you use, it helps more people find it, and it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So please do so. I like feeling warm and fuzzy. And then there's also a bunch of extra bonus goodies if you want to, if you like the show enough to support it monetarily. There's patreon.com/stillloadingpod. Tons of bonus stuff, bonus episodes, full long, like I'm talking super long episodes of a show called Still Bonding, which is a monthly James Bond podcast where me and a bunch of friends bond over 007. And that is like, no episode is under 2.5 hours. I think I'm actually recording one later tonight, but almost every episode is at least 2.5 to 3 hours, the longest one being 4.5 hours. And we are currently up to, when this comes out, we will be up to the Daniel Craig era, Casino Royale. I think that episode will have just come out by the time this one drops. So yeah, Casino Royale. So yeah, patreon.com/stillloadingpod, all that good stuff. But that's it. That's all the time we got for you on this episode of Still Loading. Thank you all so much for listening. Dexter, thank you once again for joining me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
And with all that said, listeners, do the Mario.